And here he is joining me today, jazz legend, the inimitable Mr. Ron Carter. I'm going to call you Sir Ron Carter. How are you?
A good, ma'am. How's that? Miss Hart, how are you today?
I'm doing great talking to you. Well, congratulations on a whole lot of things. I want to really talk about that beautiful piece that we just saw of you heading to Carnegie Hall coming up in May. But before we get to that, I have to congratulate you. I understand you are the most recorded bassist in history. Okay,
Yes,
just history, period.
yes.
With over 2,000 recordings. My goodness. First of all, how does that even happen? And second of all, I know that there's a lot of memories, but are there one or two that just stand out?
Back in the day, there were 10 record companies in New York recording jazz, plus those coming in from Japan and from Europe and South America to record this wonderful music with all these labels who are offering them the format and the studio time and the musicians to record this music. So back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, there were, again, at least 10 major labels wanting to record the music. And I was one of the guys who fell into that space where they needed bass players. I say, bring on those guys, bring on those guys. Let me work with those guys. Uh, one. And two, I think we all try to prepare ourselves for getting busy,
Yeah.
for work. We take lessons, we understand the process. We're not necessarily in the right place at the right time, but we try to get to those places. We try to take care, try to handle our business. And most of all, we try to be prepared to help someone who's called me to help them make them sound good, to make them acknowledge we made the right choice by calling this person.
Right.
And if you can
Because
do that,
nobody,
if you can do that, you get past 8 or 9 records.
yeah, you got a little bit past 8 or 9 records, I would say. And you played with just about everybody on the planet that has ever played this music. So, yeah, yeah, not bad. I cannot believe somebody told me you're celebrating your, what, 85th birthday coming up?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, 8-5.
Wow. Well, you look great. I don't know what the
Thank you.
secret to that is, but I think it's the music. I'm
Yes,
sure
that
it's the
helps.
music. That helps. What is the big plan now for the Carnegie Hall concert?
Well, we have 3 groups, of which I am the leader of. The first group that will play will be a trio with piano, bass, and guitar. Russell Malone playing guitar, Donald Vega playing piano, and myself playing bass. The second group on that stage will be a quartet with James Green playing saxophone, Irene Rosnes playing piano, and Peyton Crosser playing drums. And the closer of this concert, which starts at 8 o'clock on time, and we've got to be out by 11, will be the octet with 4 cellos, 2 basses, piano, and drums. In between these groups, there'll be small conversations with Buster Williams and Stanley Clark, and the host will be Mr. Holt from NBC News, who wants to be a bass player someday. So we talk about that.
Oh, wow, Lester Holt. I've
Yeah,
heard that about him.
yeah. He's got some skills too.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, it's interesting because you're a double bassist. Explain that for people who don't know.
Well, it's just it makes it more highfalutin than string bass or upright. Basically, double bass means in the old days it doubled the cello parts. Now it's a nice way to separate upright bass, double bass from electric bass.
Gotcha.
Quite
Gotcha.
a quite different quite a different instrument, but just as challenging.
And you also played the cello for many years as well.
Yeah, I do now occasionally to scare people and to fool myself.
Well, I'm sure it turns out pretty good. So back to the other question, like I said, 2000 recordings, all of those studios, all of those musicians. But are there one or two moments that just stand out that you remember and you just say, "Wow." That's like, "Wow."
Um, that's not a tricky question anymore because I hear that all the time, and I answer the same way as judiciously comfortable as I can. I treated all those record dates as classes, and I was a student of those teachers who were the band leaders. And I treat all those things as a chance for me to learn how to help people sound better with these individual projects. So they were all critical to my growth physically, in terms of needing endurance to go through all this stuff to get there. It helped me in terms of musical phrasing as how to understand the information coming at me from these three or four different guys in the bands, to understand how different leaders respond to the pressure of recording, the pressure of being responsible for these three strangers who they have called together to make their project successful. And who's
Hmm.
going to make that work? Well, they picked these three guys. Sometimes it's great choices. Sometimes it's a little less than great, but it works itself out. All these reasons, Miss Hart, are kind of the things that made it possible for me to have a career at making records, so to speak. And I'm
Hmm.
learning each time I go into the studio, class is still open. Okay, let me sit down, get my pencil and paper, take off the dunce cap, and get this knowledge going.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I hear you're going on another tour, a European tour as well this summer. People have no idea. You hear about musicians, everybody loves going to concerts. Traveling, the traveling band concept is not easy at any age in life, but you're managing to do this again. What does it take to get out there and get on the road like that?
It takes being very hard headed, and it takes being willing to accept someone who doesn't care about your instrument. And I say we, the bass player community, has shipped our bass from point A to point B and got to point B, and the bass was still in point A.
Ooh.
And that's one of the things we're faced with whenever we ship our instruments. The other thing we face is getting to the gig and finding a different bass than what we thought we were going to have. So I think we do this because we love the music. We insist on helping people sound good, and we can't believe that this happened to us again.
I know. Well, in today's world, and mainly because of the pandemic, we came up with what's called verses. Like somebody over here versus somebody over here, and they're both great, and it's like a really. In fact, I'm going to one on Sunday with the
Wow.
Winans family squaring off against
Wow.
each other. That ought to be interesting.
Yeah, you're going to have some
Uh,
laughs now.
that should be really good. But all of that being said, if you were going to do a bass versus today, who would that be?
Um,
Who would Ron Carter versus today?
mm, I like to say Ahmad Jamal.
Oh,
I got an imaginary list in my head of people who I have yet to play with and or yet record with.
wow.
And I'm determined, Miss Hart, to get Mr. Ahmad Jamal's name off of that blank, blank, blank list.
Wow.
Finally.
I'm amazed that you guys have not played. And I heard him before everything shut down. He was here at Catalina Jazz and Bar
Oh,
Grill
wow.
over here.
Yeah, I like that place too.
Isn't that a great spot? Well, we're hoping that it really comes back. It opened up again.
Uh,
But anyway, I saw him there. I sat there the whole time with my mouth open. He's like amazing,
yes,
just amazing.
yes. And I want to share that with him. So it's less verses, but it's more of a exchanging paragraphs, and I have some I'm saving for him.
Yeah, I'll bet you've got something up in there for him. What got you into musicianship and playing the bass? I'm sure this is a story that goes back a few years, but
Well, I was
how did you
originally
start?
a cello player when I started out playing when I was 11 to 12. I can't remember that far back. And as I got better, I got better teachers, and my skill level went up to a nice genius kind of level of a 12-year-old African American kid from Ferndale, Michigan, you
Hmm.
know. And when I got to college, high school, I noticed that the PTAs and the school educational programs would have these conferences, and they would hire, each school would bring together some musicians to play, like kind of like wallpaper music during the conferences, talk and the dinner and stuff like that, you know.
Hmm.
And I realized that I wasn't getting the calls that I thought my talent deserved. You know, so I said, wait a minute. I looked around, and the bass player who was there was graduating January of 1955. I said, well, no, if he's the only bass player who's gone, he's on these little musical tracks through his town. If he's not here and they need a bass player, if I'm the only one, then I will be the only one.
Hmm.
And so I sold my cello. My parents said it was okay. Got a teacher, and I started playing bass January 1955. And
Wow.
I'm still learning how to play the bass.
Yeah, it's it's one of those, any instrument. I think you keep learning until you are just no longer here.
Yes,
I
until you
think
but
that's the way music is. We've gone through such a horrific time here on the planet, and it's still not a whole lot better, but music has somehow kept us all going, and certainly jazz is America's indigenous music. That I've always said that, and I do believe that. The importance of what you do and the importance of this music. How would you put that in context for what's going on today?
uh, you know, when I go to work every night, I'm going for a couple of reasons. One, I like to play. Two, I like to see my musicians who are working with me appreciate my efforts, and try to see how far out they can take this music in terms of improving what we are now playing. My third reason, Miss Howard, is I hope that our music, this band collectively, takes people's minds somewhere else. Now, I don't know where it's going. I just hope we find enough of the right emotional notes that we play to give them a reprieve from wherever they are before they walked under the door where I'm playing. So the time they leave when I'm playing, to take some of that enthusiasm, some of that clear-headedness, some of that humanity, some of that humility. When they leave where I'm playing, if they can get some of that, I have done our job.
Mhm.
And all I can do is go out there, play with a open heart, a straight face, and a lot of spirit. And if we can get that done, something's going to change. What? We never know. But clearly, music can be a catalyst for some of those different thoughts and different responses in our life.
Well, you know what I love about it? The younger generation, I'm talking about actually teenagers these days,
What are
are
teenagers?
really listening to jazz.
Mm,
I mean, really paying attention to it. I've got some in my family. I've got one that's on the radio in college. That's all she plays is jazz.
good for
So,
them. Yay.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like they've rediscovered, I mean, because everybody's kind of grown up with hip hop at this point. And, there was the jazz fusion and hip hop, and you've actually done some of that. But I'm just saying, like, just straight ahead jazz, I'm totally amazed at these young kids who've discovered it. And I don't know
I
if you're
think
aware of that, but I wanted you to know.
I think what happened is that since they couldn't go out to the clubs because the clubs were all closed, it forced them. It just forced me to review some of the things I did. Or my students say, Mr. Carter, you know this record that you're on in 1987? And I said, no, I take a listen to it. We made this record in 1803. Stuff they go pretty far back to my history. So it's forced me to do my own personal research and historical or hysterical records I made in the meantime. And that the kids now, the teenagers who I know maybe 3 or 4, they're appreciating and understanding that was something before where they are now, and
Hmm.
that they've latched onto jazz as being that item that was pre music, pre hip hop, pre rap. It's quite an amazing thing to happen during this long intermission, I call it. Bravo to them. More and more and
Yeah.
more and more and more.
Yeah, it's coming. I see it, and it's everywhere.
Great.
I just want to again congratulate you. I know you're very busy and prepping for this big concert on May 10th. But what would you like to say to our audience, which is all ages, all colors, all kinds of people. What would you say to them about the importance of just hanging in there and keeping with the music? What would you say?
Well, one of the questions I'm always asked, Miss Hart, is how do I define what jazz is? And at this concert on May 10 at Carnegie Hall is a great example of how I would define what jazz is from my point of view as a listener, as a composer, as an enjoyer of the music, you know. And I think if I can convince those people who want to know what else is out there available for them to latch on to, any one of these three groups I'm presenting to them on May 10, it's a great example of what I'd recommend them to put their arm around or shake hands with or sit down and nod your head every now and then or pat your foot if you feel like it. This is what music can do for you. And I'm hoping that we're able to find that zone on May 10.
I am so sure you will. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you so much.
Good to see you and good luck and great success. And can't wait to see the video of all of this when it's done because I know it's going to be off the charts. No pun intended.
We're going to mash it up, I'm telling you.
Yeah, I know. I know you will. Okay, well, good to see you.
Thank you. Nice to meet
Thank
you.
you for joining us and everybody else out there. This is why you watch Hollywood Live because we bring you the greatest of the great all the time, including Sir Ron Carter.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.